Whatever you might be going through and wherever you might be, this is Omar Serrato with the Tilted Lawyer Podcast. I'm here to take your mind off of things. Yes, I'm an attorney. No, I'm not giving you legal advice. We're going to sit and talk like people, as these are the candid thoughts of one practicing attorney, and it's after hours. So have a seat. Feel free to have a drink and join me. Let's get started.
It can't ever just go smooth, can it? Never, ever, 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 ever. Well, happy Saturday, folks. This is Omar Serrano with the Tilted Lawyer Podcast. And we're here to talk about the monumentous occasion that was last night. So it was at the beginning of FLAD. I was going to do FLAD with Schnitzel and Brad was in there. And then we got news that the appellate decision that we'd all been waiting for. Like a bitch. I did not press that button. That was a ghost. I don't know what that was about. The buttons are,
Does he look?
That wasn't me. At any rate, we've been waiting for this appellate decision for months, and it finally came down. And we've been dealing with this guy, David Gingras, for about a year now. For about a year. I think he first came onto the general consciousness lexicon of the Laura Owens universe around March of last year, 2024. It's been about a year. In the span of 12 months, he has so grossly mishandled his representation of Laura Owens. You might consider the fact that maybe it was the fact that he was acting so outrageous. The purpose of it was to distract from how bad the Laura Owens case was. Maybe that was it. And he did succeed in all of that. I think at the very beginning, when Dave Neal initiated all of this investigation and all of the stuff that's been going on online, it was Laura Owens that had become this hated person. And then David Gingras comes into the picture and starts having these YouTube X battles with whom he deemed was the JFC cults. And he said to all of you, I mean, including myself, that we were all stupid, that we didn't know the law. With me specifically, he tried to be a little bit more respectful. At least I was a lawyer, but you're not an Arizona lawyer, so maybe you should just stay in your lane, is basically what he's trying to say. He spoke with confidence. He spoke with authority. But ultimately, as we have suspected all along, he was 100% completely full of shit. And I can offer no better example than a video that he made way back. I had made a video after his appellate brief had dropped. He filed it. And I give my opinions on it. And my opinions on it were not very favorable to him. And he took exception to that. And he made like a 7.5-minute video that was titled David Gingras Responds to Omar Serrato Regarding Laura Owens and Clayton Eckert. And completely proceeded to just butcher the law in the most embarrassing fashion possible. Now, when I first saw that video, I was kind of freaking out a little bit because wait a minute. Did I miss something? Is it like something obvious like that where, oh, this wasn't actually a thing? He was referring to 25-324, that it wasn't going to apply, that it was illegal for the court to award attorney fees under that statute because this was not a parenting action. There was no child ascertained. Therefore, that statute specifically could not take hold. And I read the entire statute before that, and I explained about all the reasons why I could. I'm going to read to you the transcript from that video about how he said I was wrong. Now, at the time, we had like this... We had a talk, and things were relatively cordial. I mean, we spoke on the phone. We were friendly with each other. I think we were friendly up until a point where he knew that he just declared that I was on the other side. He said that I was on the side of evil, and he said that I was dead to him, and he no longer wished to have any more communications with me, which is fine by me, man. I don't give a shit. What do I need to be friends with a guy like that for? I mean, I sniffed out his bullshit from the very beginning, our very first email interaction. I sniffed David Gingras out. And, I think back to those initial emails. And if you've been following my channel, you guys are well familiar with the emails that came out. All of my interactions with David Gingras are public on YouTube, either on my channel or his channel. It's all out there. Like nothing is hidden. The very first time that I'd ever spoken to David Gingras, I got the sense, and I had no reason to think this other than my own instincts and my experience, was that this is not a serious individual. If I'm looking for facts about this Laura Owens case, I shouldn't go to this guy because he's going to bullshit me. I had asked him questions about, hey, so there are these internet catalogs of evidence that go back like 10 years, and they purport to prove some horrible things about your client, Laura Owens. What do you know about that evidence, and how do you respond to it? And then his response to me was, oh, I don't read any of that crap. And, I don't pay any attention to it. There's no evidence out there. He says something to that effect, just completely disregarding it. And it's not so much that was like a rude way to respond. It's not even so much I labeled it unprofessional, and it kind of was unprofessional, but not really, because he's just defending his client. What I should have said was, from that point going forward, I knew that this was not a man to take serious. So I have cases all the time. I speak to opposing counsels all the time. As you might imagine, we have discussions about evidence all the time. Like 90% of attorneys, I could speak openly and honestly about evidence and how it's going to affect the case moving forward, and how it could presumptively move us towards settlement, or where we have to litigate certain things, or where there's genuine questions of facts. And all we were really trying to do is get to the truth of the matter. When you have a counsel that completely disregards evidence that's just thrown in your face, and they don't want to talk to you, sort of like what David Gingras did by saying, I don't read any of that crap, it's all bullshit. I know nothing about it. It's like, okay, but that seems to be the evidence that they're going to be bringing forth the trial. And it'd be nice, if you're going to be representing her at trial, if you knew the talking points at least. And so when I said that he was unprofessional, what I really meant was, he appeared to be unprepared for what was coming, and he was full of shit. Like, you're not going to go to this guy and get any semblance of truth. And that turned out to be prophetic, because for the next year, he proceeded to embarrass himself, the likes of which I've never seen an attorney do, to the point where I'm legitimately wondering that I think he's going to lose his license. I think after all this is said and done, like, there's so many bar complaints against this guy. He's got judges writing bar complaints. He's got the general public writing bar complaints. He has other people in the legal community, which he swims, writing bar complaints against him. And I don't know a detailed, comprehensive list of all the people that have sued him or filed bar complaints against him, but it's numerous. It's nothing that I've ever seen. I cannot imagine he's just going to walk away from that with like a slap on the wrist and, see you next Tuesday. And like, it's just any other kind of week. It's just not going to go down that way for him. He's had this descent, it appears to me, into madness, where this case has so gotten under his skin. And it's only because he was so grossly unprepared for what was coming. I'm not sure who he talks to or who he's getting advice from in this case and how he was litigating it. But when he lost the trial, that really should have been the end of it. But then he goes on this crusade. That Rule 26 is the equivalent of Rule 11. And you guys have all heard those arguments. I'm not going to rehash them. And it somehow supersedes all other sanctions. And he was so confident that he was going to win. He put public tweets out there that Omar is just embarrassingly wrong, and I will be vindicated when the appellate decision is released. Well, it was released, and embarrassingly for him, he was confirmed to be, I don't know. What would you say? He's confirmed to be wrong. I mean, I don't want to use too harsh of a derogatory term. But he was fucking wrong for that. For whatever that was, he was just wrong in spectacular fashion. And now you juxtapose that with, he has convinced Laura Owens that she was going to prevail on appeal. And my conversations with the two of them, I just got the impression that she was being taken for a ride. She put so much faith into this guy, and I venture to guess it was because he was the only lawyer out there that was willing to let her go down this road to perdition, where there was going to be no peace, there was going to be no accountability, there was going to be no self-reflection, there's going to be no self-awareness. We're just going to continue to lie to ourselves about what the evidence says, but more disgustingly, what the law says. That is what happened. From my objective view, that is exactly what happened. I'm going to run through some tweets. I asked ChatGPT to, hey, so Omar Serrato and David Gingras had like this online beef. What can you tell me about this? And it did actually a really good job of parsing it out for me. And this is what it came up with. Excuse me. ChatGPT says that the genesis of it was back in October. So from about March of 24 going into October, we're talking about, what's that, 7 months? We had a phone conversation for the very first time. I don't think I even got involved with this case until late April, early May. But we had a talk, and he tweets on his Twitter that he had an unusual, David Gingras tweeted that he had an unusual, pleasant, and professional conversation with Omar, emphasizing that we were cordial, zero threats. This is how I wish dialogue could be, et cetera, et cetera. It was a really good, we had a pleasant conversation. I think he was like in the courting phase of our relationship, where he was trying to convert me onto his side and trying to convince me about what a great guy he was. And to his credit, I walked away saying, hey, he's not that bad of a guy. He comes off like a dick, but he knows that he comes off that way. He says he can't help it. He acknowledged that he has personality flaws. Sometimes he can't help himself, is what he said. And when I talked to him on the phone, he was a friendly guy. What can I say? It was a friendly conversation. So that was on October 8th. And then, I think around that time is when his appellate brief was released. And I had done a video just kind of breaking it down and explaining. Actually, I don't remember if it was his brief that I had reviewed or if it was just something I heard him say that didn't make sense. And I reviewed specifically the statute under which fees were awarded, 25-324. And I just outlined about why it applied and why Gingras was wrong. And so Gingras uses that opportunity. It says on November 20th of 2024, Gingras used Twitter to announce a rebuttal video addressing Omar Serrato's analysis in a tweet linking his YouTube video titled David Gingras Responds to Omar Serrato Regarding Lower Owens and Clayton Eckert. And this was the post. Let's see if I can share that with you guys. Oh yeah. Let me share this with you guys. So this is kind of how this all went down. And in the video where he was rebutting my claims, he was seemingly friendly. That was the tone. That was his tone. God damn it. How do I share this? Here we go. All right. So he sets out this tweet. I just had a friendly call from Omar about this video, and Laura happened to be on the call as well. Glad to keep the discussion cordial. And then it says, David Gingras responds to Omar Serrato regarding Laura Owens. And then this video, and I'm not going to play it because I just don't feel like dealing with bullshit threats of a lawsuit. Not that I think they're going to go anywhere. I just got better things to do. I'm just going to read from a transcript of what he essentially said. Here, I don't want to generate a transcript. I want to read the transcript. Show me the transcript. He writes this 7-minute video where he is being friendly. And court says, good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, the 19th of November. I'm looking at the wrong screen. David Gingras. I'm not a podcaster. I'm not a YouTuber. He tries to do an impression of me, I think. I just really briefly want to share. I actually did a much longer video earlier today talking about Mike Maricini. And after thinking about it, I decided, I'm going to put it to bed. I'm going to put that one on ice for a minute. And I don't even care to explain why today's video, this little short thing, is going to be about Omar. And he does this little impression of me. I'm going to let you guys listen to that. Is it working? Oh, look at that. It's really creepy and weird when he does it, but that's just my natural voice, sir, so he can fuck off. Anyway, getting back into this transcript, he proceeds to try to school me on the law in this thing. What's hilarious is that in the appellate decision, the court addresses it directly about why 25-324 applies. And it was almost exactly what I had stated in my video. You guys can go back and check. I haven't pulled it myself, but I made a couple of videos about why it applied, and I cited like 20 different cases. And the appellate court just said, yeah, it applies, Dick. What do you want? What do you want from us? So he goes on to say, Omar's podcast, whatever he's doing, streaming something about me trolling JFC, and I don't care. I don't have time to watch these things, but I just happened to randomly see a little piece of it where I was citing case law, reading, C, given actual case names, citations. Yeah, I was giving him the law. I was doing a video on the actual law, and there was actual educational merit to listening to it because I was right. He mentions the fact that he felt I was just not a family law attorney, and therefore I was going to lose because I didn't understand the law. And he was quoting and reading some statutes in Arizona, which again, no disrespect at all to Omar. He is not licensed to practice law in Arizona, which I'm not, but I'm licensed to read, and I have a LexisNexis, and I'm really fucking good at legal research. And so when I need to look up a body of law that I don't know, I just look it up. And over the course of my 11-year career in law school before that, I've been doing this a really long time now. I know how to figure out what the law is and apply it. That is the main skill to being a lawyer. And it seems like he doesn't. For whatever reason, he's just not as good at it. He's been doing this twice as long as I, and he's not as good. What can you say? He's not licensed to practice law in Arizona. He's entitled to sit and read whatever he wants to on YouTube. That is not practicing law, so he's okay. But I am licensed to practice law in Arizona and in California, and I am not a family law attorney, but this stuff is not that complicated. It just isn't. But it is for him. He doesn't grasp it. He doesn't grasp it. All it was saying was you can't just claim Rule 26, and that means that all of the other statutes that allow for sanctions are dead. That doesn't make any logical sense. I told him that on the phone. I said that in several videos, and he's remarking on it here. He's deliberately avoiding this. I didn't get what he said by here. I'm going to play this part of it for you because he says at 134. Damn it. He makes this statement, and I don't get it. He says, I'm not looking for the truth. When that's all I've really been looking for this entire time is not just the truth as to this case, but the truth as to the law. But he makes this weird statement. And I have called him, and I have asked him these specific questions about the law, and we've disagreed on it. And so what is, you want me to call him again so we could have the same disagreement? I could have called him right that second and talked about it, and he would have had his stance. I would have had my stance. There's no gaining anything in that. We've talked about him coming on my show, to disagree about the law. He was going to go on Reality Steve's show and talk to him about the Laura Owens case, and he never did because he was never going to say anything negative about his client. He said he would sit there and listen. And so there's no merit in that. So it never happened. As far as I know, I don't think he's given an interview to anybody. There was no point talking to him because we disagree. There's no reason to have a YouTube argument about the law. I saw what you wrote. You saw what I wrote. But he's responding to this. And so he says, I talked to him, conversation. He says, I'm not willing to get to the truth. there's just one little point that he made in his video that I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to go out on my walk. I do 4.5. He's talking about his walk stuff. And then he goes, if it's ARS 25 324. And I'm going to let him explain his version of what he thinks that statute means. I mean, it was. And that's what the way that he just read that is kind of exactly what the appellate court said. Also allows fees. And I feel like he's going to catch himself right here as he's reading this. She filed for a parenting plan, bitch. And I was like, David, but she filed for a parenting plan. And then I think his argument was, well, but the child wasn't ascertained, and so it wasn't ripe for parenting plan decisions. It's like, but she filed under that. It subjects her to that body. And I was being very deferential. It's like, you're the Arizona attorney. You practice there, I don't. But it seems to me that if you file a parenting plan, then you implicate Chapter 4. Am I wrong in that? And he says here that I'm wrong. If there was a child born is not, he was just wrong. We disagreed in this. I disagreed with him way back when, and then I just left it alone because there was no point in talking about it. Anyway, this is kind of the genesis of our disagreement. I took this video and I doubled back and was like, okay, if I made a really stupid, when I saw this, my heart dropped. It was like, there's no fucking way. It was that simple. Did I really miss something that was that obvious? What did I miss? I went back, and because that's kind of what you do. When you don't know the answer, you go find it. And I scoured the code and the associated cases with the code where 25-324 applied specifically in parenting positions where children were not ascertained. And I found a bunch. And then I took that. I made a synopsis of all my work, and I made a YouTube post and dropped it on a YouTube post. And then I said, hey, somebody send all this to Gingras. And then somebody did. I don't know what he ever said about it. But I just told him, okay, you're saying that, but what about all of this law? And I don't know how many pages it was. It's something like 14 pages of stuff that I had compiled. Anyway, I just wanted to share that because this is kind of the history of my going back and forth with David Gingras. And so, what's up, Lauren, the court of random opinion? If only I could insert my voice to make it seem like he's having a very odd conversation. Oh, what am I doing? What am I doing now? Oh, was I not sharing my screen? Did you guys hear anything that I just said? I've shared nothing, sir. Well, I read the transcript anyway. How about that? Well, maybe it's for the best. Now I can't possibly get sued because Gingras, I used portions of his video. Nobody heard shit, sir. So Anyway, there is a video, and he's telling me all this stuff about 20. I've basically summarized it on my own anyway, so we're good. We are good. We can only hear you talking and slurping. Well, I guess that's an improvement over what we normally hear. Jesus. Oh, what a clown show, man. Okay, so now I want to go over what the appellate court said specific to that. I'm not going to read it word for word. We did that on Lauren's show yesterday. But this was, am I at least sharing this? I'm not, am I? Damn it. All right. I will be more careful with how I share things. Hopefully this, oh, it's a Chrome tab, isn't it? Is it this? Yeah. All right. So this is the appellate decision. We went through this yesterday. It gives a factual background and stuff. I want to go back to where they just start dunking on him. So here we go. Owens argues that because Eckert did not comply with Rule 26 safe harbor requirements, she was shielded from any punishment arising from her alleged violation of Rule 26. As a preliminary matter, we note that a significant portion of Owens' appellate argument relies on her incorrect assertion that the trial court ordered sanctions under Rule 26. The court expressly awarded attorney fees under ARS 25-324. Just remember what I told you that Gingras said that his argument was. 25-324 only applies to parenting plans, essentially if a child has been ascertained and his client filed for a parenting plan. And there's also this other one, 25-415. So we declined to consider whether an award under Rule 26 would have been proper. They're not even addressing the 26 issue because it's a non-issue, because nobody awarded anything under 26. We review the trial court's decision to award attorney fees and sanctions under 25-324 and 415 for an abuse of discretion. But we review a court's interpretation and application of statutes de novo, meaning on its own merits. Owens argues that because the hearing was set in response to Eckert's Rule 26 motion, and because he didn't file any other motion for fees or sanctions, of course, the court sanctioned her under Rule 26, relying on Rule 35A1, Owens contends a fee or sanctions request must be made by separate motion. While this is true for Rule 26 sanctions, the same is not true for attorney fees under 25-324. In other words, you're wrong, bitch. You're wrong. You're so wrong. You were wrong. Or Arizona Family Code, or sanctions or litigation misconduct under 25-415. Nevertheless, Eckert properly requested attorney fees and costs under those authorities throughout the litigation. For example, he requested attorney fees and costs under 25-324 based on her unreasonableness in his motion to extend the dismissal date on the inactive calendar and schedule an evidentiary hearing, which was filed. In its ruling, the trial court ruminated about whether it could sua sponte award sanctions under Rule 26 after a party moves and then withdraws a motion for Rule 26 sanctions. Presumably, it did so because the question was heavily litigated by the parties below. But ultimately, the court did not award Rule 26 sanctions. Before Owens moved to dismiss the case, Eckert made, is this like out of order or something? What's going on with this? Before Owens moved to dismiss the case, Eckert made the same request under 25-324 in his reply, as well as in an amended response to the paternity petition. Moreover, in Eckert's motion to withdraw his Rule 26 motion, he argued that he was entitled to attorney fees under those statutes, and we've gone over this. So Owens argues the trial court lacked the authority to impose attorney fees and sanctions independently from Rule 26 because Eckert filed and subsequently withdrew the motion. She maintains that Rule 26 must control and must provide the exclusive remedy for conduct that would fall under a Rule 26 violation. In support of this argument, she relies on the proposition that when two rules deal with the same subject, the more specific rule controls. And now the court's going to say why that's stupid. But the statutes under the court granted attorney fees do not govern the same subject matter, dumbass. Section 320, 25-324 governs attorney fees, not sanctions. In other words, David Gingras was embarrassingly wrong because he didn't even know that he was supposed to be arguing attorney fees, not the sanctions argument, dipshit. And the sanctions for costs and attorney fees that the court ordered under 25-415 were based on Owens knowingly presenting a false claim, knowingly violating a court order, compelling disclosure or discovery. In other words, all the reasons why I said that she was going to be subject to those sanctions when I made that video that pissed him off, like way back when. Court order, compelling discovery, which is a distinct from, okay. Owens next argues that the attorney fees and costs awarded under 324 and 415 were improper because they were neither necessary nor reasonable. And this is the dumbest of his arguments, really. She asserts that Eckerd's fees were literally zero prior to November of 2023. And if his counsel had simply picked up the phone in mid-December and asked her about her intentions, she would have informed him that she was no longer pregnant, that there was nothing further to litigate. And the courts basically said, look, that's not even what Clayton wanted. What Clayton wanted was an acknowledgement that she was a fucking liar. And he wasn't getting that from a sit down, and he didn't have to agree just because she wanted to dismiss his claims. She similarly argues that Eckerd's decision to file the Rule 26 motion was the precipitating factor in incurring fees. She contends that that's just, Your Honor, the only reason he has attorney fees is because he decided to sue me. If he didn't want to sue me, then he wouldn't have any attorney fees. That's basically what he's saying. He's arguing like a child. She contends that if Eckerd had done nothing, the case would have been administratively dismissed, but not really, not the way that Eckerd wanted it dismissed. Therefore, she maintains that even if her petition were unreasonable, it was not the filing itself that caused fees to be incurred, but rather Eckerd's choice to pursue sanctions. But that administrative dismissal wouldn't have been without prejudice. So it would not have precluded Owens from initiating future paternity actions, nor would that dismissal have been equivalent to the order that Eckerd sought and ultimately obtained, that he was not the father in connection with the alleged pregnancy. That's what he wanted to be vindicated on. So none of these scenarios posited by Owens have any bearing on the propriety of the fees awarded in this case, as that determination must be based not on conjecture, not on silliness, not on temper tantrums, but on what actually occurred. And at the time of Eckerd's request for an evidentiary hearing on the paternity issue, attorney fees, and Rule 26 sanctions, Owens had not informed him that she was going to move to dismiss the case, and in her response to Eckerd's request, filed simultaneously with her motion to dismiss, she acknowledged that the only remaining issue was Eckerd's request for attorney fees. And you don't just get to make that issue go away because you want it to. Eckerd objected to Owens' motion to dismiss, arguing her value. No, whatever. The fact that the parties incurred attorney fees because they heavily litigated these issues was within the court's discretion to consider and not something that this court will reweigh. In other words, fuck off with that argument, dude. He incurred attorney fees. The court thought it was reasonable based on what they saw on the party's conduct. He had a right to request attorney fees based on Owens' conduct, and I granted it. And you know what? This appellate court is not going to redress that issue. It is what it is. Everybody kind of whatever. We're done with this argument. Here, the trial court found Owens had acted unreasonably in the litigation by filing the case without basis or merit. The court also found it disingenuous at best, but certainly misleading to the court that Owens had testified the purpose of her motion seeking mediation was to inform Eckerd the pregnancy was not viable. Do you know how stupid that is? We're going to attend mediation to let you know that I had a miscarriage. You do that kind of thing over like a text message or a phone call, and you cancel mediation because there's no pregnancy here. Let's just cancel it. What are we mediating? Mediation is not a mechanism to conduct third-party communications. The court also concluded that 25-324B, and I just want you to remember that David Gingras said that 25-324 didn't apply because this was a paternity action. That's what he fucking said. He said that shit. You know what? you know what? This is what he said. Now I am sharing this video with you. This is what he said. If I can find the transcript thing again. Was it here? I think it was here.
Of marriage case? No, it was not. ARS 324 also allows fees if the case arose under Chapter 4, Article 1. Chapter 4 has to do with legal decision-making and parenting time. That is not a paternity establishment. The court could have reached that if there was a child born, but that's not what Laura filed. She filed
a parenting plan. Dumbass. You don't want to hear his Omar impression? This is his Omar impression.
I am screen. I am Dave, a name for anything. Some comments I just really briefly want to share. I actually did a much longer video earlier today talking about Mike Maricini, and after thinking about it, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna put that one on ice for a minute, and I don't even care to explain why. Today's video, this little short thing, is going to be about Omar. I saw last night I was cooking chicken fajitas. Oh, and I have a new microphone, by the way. Do I sound better? Should I try and talk like Barry White? Like, hey, that's really creepy and weird.
Yeah, it's really weird and creepy when he does that. I get it gives me the ick. Imagine he gives a lot of other people the ick too. You can't do me. You can't do my impression, sir. You cannot impression me. I can't impression him, to be fair. I don't know how to do impressions. I'm just saying he was fucking wrong for a lot of reasons that he said in this video. Look, this is kind of why I say over and over again, I just dislike talking to attorneys because they will present themselves like a David Gingras. They will come in there all high and mighty because they got their JD from whatever school they got it from, and they've been practicing law for so long, and they speak with authority, and they speak with, I'm a lawyer and you're not a lawyer, and they're so dead fucking wrong on the law. It's ridiculous how wrong this guy was. He was so wrong. They never even addressed the merits of what he wanted them to address, which is, when Rule 26 is initiated, does it cancel out all these other statutes? They just said, no, it doesn't, and just kind of left it alone. They didn't even give an opportunity to do oral arguments, is how bad he lost this appeal. So let me get back to the thing, and I'm not going to read the whole thing again, because we did that yesterday with Lauren. And I'm going to go on Lauren's show, like right after this, with some other friends of ours. So Owens does not meaningfully challenge these findings, but instead argues that 25-324 does not apply in paternity actions. He said it doesn't apply in paternity actions. This is exactly what he said in his YouTube video when I was like, but David, what do you mean? She filed a parenting plan. So this is how the court responds to him. And if you go back and watch my 2 videos that I made on the subject matter, I guess back in November or October, whenever it would have been, I kind of said exactly what the appellate court is saying right now. This is what they say. Section 25-324 permits a court to order a party to pay a reasonable amount to the other party for the costs and expenses of maintaining or defending any proceeding under Chapter 3 or Chapter 4. And David Gingras just told us that Chapter 4 is parenting plans, right? Article 1 of this title, Chapter 3 governs dissolution of marriage, and relevant Chapter 4, Article 1 governs legal decision-making and parenting time. Owens argues that paternity actions are by definition excluded. A family court's authority to conduct legal decision-making and parenting time proceedings is provided by ARS 25402. And under that statute, a parent is required to request such a determination in any proceeding for marital dissolution, legal separation, annulment, paternity, or modification, or of an earlier decree or judgment. Here, Owens petitioned the trial court for orders concerning paternity, legal decision-making, parenting time, and child support. While that court ultimately did not issue legal decision-making and parenting time orders, Eckert defended any proceeding under Chapter 4, Article 1 of this title by virtue of Owens' petition, as was reflected in his amended response. In other words, she filed a parenting plan, bitch. What did you think was going to happen? What kind of argument is that? They continue, even assuming the trial court's fee award was improper under 324 because of the case's procedural posture. The court's findings would have supported a fee award under 25809. Eckert cited 809 in seeking attorney fees, so the issue was also properly before the court. The language in 809 largely mirrors 324 and permits a court to order a party to pay a reasonable amount to the other party for the cost and expenses of maintaining or defending any paternity proceeding. We reject Owens' suggestion that this paternity action somehow transformed into some other type of thing because the parties only incurred fees after it was scheduled for administrative dismissal without prejudice. You lose. Good day, sir. I got to get that on my soundboard.
Does he look like a bitch?
He kind of does right now. Oh, boy. Anyway, I'm not going to read this anymore. This is Lauren, really? Are we going to go over it? What are we going over? Oh, we posted a blog. Oh, that'll be fun. But Omar, everything happened before he took her case. His famous words during. Yeah, but what happened before you took the case happened, dipshit. You have to be responsible for what happened before the case. Otherwise, what are we doing? I say good day, sir. Oh, poor little Charlie Bucket, man. How could you yell at that little kid like that? That was so mean. That was so mean. He posted a blog. You know what? At this point, I think back to the first email that I'd ever gotten from him where he just like tried to gaslight me and think that, oh, all of the online, I know that I'm preparing for a trial. It's in a couple of months, but I don't know anything about the 10 years worth of evidence that suggests that my client is a fucking liar. When people say stuff like that to you and you're an attorney and they're an attorney, you just kind of write them off as they're not a serious person. You're not going to get anywhere talking to them. So what's the point? And so I didn't talk to him. When we did have a conversation, and you saw what it kind of, our disagreements on the law were so massive that there was no reconciling anything. He was going off on this 25-324 is ineligible because of Rule 26. And I'm like, how? By the plain language of the statute, sir. And what about all these other cases? I thought it would be fun to go through a history of, oh no. I thought it would be fun to go through a whole history of blog posts or Twitter posts that he had written about me. I had a good friend of mine compile a list. She compiled a list, the Schnitzel Ninja, and she sent it to me for your viewing pleasure. All right, so this is the first image. So he says, so this is, when we're friends, we used to be friends, sort of. I just had a friendly call from Omar about his video, and Laura happened to be on the call as well. Glad to keep the discussion cordial. And by the way, I have never tweeted anything about Gingras. I've made videos and stuff, but when I got bad things to say about you, I say it to you, or I put it on video. We've talked about it. I've said to his face the things that I disagreed with him about. And so, but I'm not the kind of guy that just like shit tweets on people and just like runs away. I'll never be that guy. And then he tweeted, part of me wants to help Omar to see why he is completely, totally, embarrassingly wrong about ARS 25-324. But honestly, there is an old saying, never interrupt your enemy in the middle of a mistake. Touché, sir. And to that degree, I hadn't interrupted him like since November. I was like, you know what? I got nothing more to say to this fucking guy. He can say whatever he wants. We'll see what the appellate decision says. And guess what? They agreed with me. Because despite the fact that he's been practicing twice as long as I, in a jurisdiction where I don't practice, I practice in California, not in Arizona, I somehow knew the law better than you. What do you think about that? Let me get to some of these super chats here. Ratch, is that Ratch or Rock? I'm not sure. He posted a new blog in case you weren't aware. I was not aware. I just found out that we're going to go over it on Lauren's stream, which I'm going to be a part of forthwith after I wrap this one up in due time. But thank you so much for the 5. Omar, we can't wait to hear the Gingras audio. Is there some audio about Gingras that I don't know about? What audio are we talking about? Because if there's audio out there, I can't wait to hear it either. Oh, I know what you're talking about. When I was going over that video that I thought I was sharing and I wasn't sharing it at all. It's a good thing I was wearing I was reading the transcripts. Oh, anyway, thanks, Sheeps, for the 2 and trying to let me know where I was effing up today. Freckles was also trying to let me know with $2. Can we hear what you hear? Yeah, I mean, I played the relevant part. And my good friend Lauren Knighty, my best YouTube friend, Omar, are you having an episode? You're talking to yourself. I often have episodes. I often talk to myself. I do both of those things, and I just happen to do them in conjunction together today. And it was delightful. Paul Berry with $2 says he has responded in a blog post, and I'm imagining we're going to get to that in Lauren's stream. And by the time I'm in Lauren's stream, I'm going to be a little bit lubricated. I'm enjoying some Woodford Reserve in celebration of my final dunk on David Gingras before I leave this guy to sleep in his own feces. What's up, Jules? What's up, Rob? What's up, Winks? Lauren should evaluate Omar. Evaluate me for what? What did I do? I've never had to be evaluated before. I mean, I have, but you know, where was I at with this? Oh, so he's going on about this 25 through 24 thing. What's up, Ricardo? But honestly, there's no. Oh yeah, I read this, and he says the whole thing. When your enemy is making a mistake, let them, or something like that, or whatever the axiom is. It was stupid. I also have this tweet. What was this one about? Open. Shit. And FYI, Omar isn't my enemy, but he is working with the enemy. So the same thing. Yeah. I've never declared David Gingras my enemy. And you know what the truth is? If I saw David Gingras in a bar somewhere, I'd probably just buy him a drink, light up a cigar, shoot the shit, talk some shit, because, hey, I never take any of this stuff personal. But he took this personal at some point in time here where he declared me an enemy because I was not agreeing with his side. He says that. When did he say that? I guess that was November 20th of 2024. What else do we got? So there's that one. There's image 2. And image 2 was this. And despite accusing me of being unprofessional, Omar thinks it's okay to make videos reading 100% false bar complaints without ever asking me for my side. I did read a bar complaint. And I also, in the course of reading that bar complaint, highlighted the fact that it was a complaint and that it was not decided and that Gingras hadn't responded and that he was going to respond in due time. And so his wiener was sore off of that. How do I get this off my screen? Present image file. Is this one 3 or 4? Open. Well, I guess it was. Then he says, hey, so back in October 8th, here's an unusual comment to me. I had a pleasant and professional conversation today with Mr. Omar Serrato. He asked questions. I answered most as best I could. We were cordial, zero threats. This is how I wish the dialogue could be. I think I shared that one with you guys earlier. What else did they send me? This one from Image. I guess this would be Image 4, wouldn't it? I swear to God, I thought that I had uploaded these before. Gingras says, I'm guessing there's a good reason Omar doesn't talk about his important big cases because he doesn't have any. Court records are public, so you can always check a lawyer's track record. Omar doesn't have one as far as I can determine. I don't have any high-profile Laura Owens type cases, but I have hundreds of active cases right now that you could readily verify on whatever public record searching mechanism of your choice. The difference between me and him is I make a distinct effort to keep my clients' stories out of the press. And if I had Laura Owens as my client, I would not represent her the same way that Gingerbread was representing her, which is to make himself the star of the litigation, to bring to highlight her misconduct in the case at every opportunity, to intensify the negative vitriol online that was coming for her, to exponentially increase it by virtue of his unnecessary adolescent vitriolic retorts to unsuspecting good people of Twitter and YouTube comments. I certainly wouldn't have let her blog about an active case. I certainly would not have been making YouTube or blog posts when I have about a case in which I have pending litigation where I'm going through or preparing for a trial. I certainly wouldn't be doing the same thing about an appellate brief that is upcoming. I would have shut the fuck up and done my job as an attorney, because that's what you do. And I certainly would not have argued the law the way that he did, because it wasn't the R word, it was stupid. So how about that? What number is this one? This one is, oh, I can't see for shit anymore. I guess that's 4. So let us move on to 5. Let us move on to 5. What was 5? Here is another one. Laura wasn't silently listening. To that degree, no, she wasn't. He asked me if I minded. So there was a phone call between myself and David. I called him. He happened to have Laura on the phone. And I was like, hey, speak of the devil. I just happen to be talking to Laura Owens right now. Do you want me to patch her through? And I was like, sure. And so then he did patch her through. But he got my consent to do that. It was like not this big secret thing. She was not secretly listening in on anything. And that's how I talked to David and Laura and formed impressions about what was going on with the representation. I have a lot to say about that. It was in that moment that I felt very sorry for Laura Owens, because I just felt that she was being misled. And what can I say about it? She's got her attorney right there. I'm not her attorney. Follow that guy, I guess. Follow him right into the depths of hell, which is where he's basically led her. I was talking to her when Omar called me. So I merged the calls and we all had a nice chat. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I did not realize they had never spoke, but now they have. We had spoken in email, just not over the phone. And Omar doesn't know me well enough to like or dislike me, give it time. I don't know him personally, that's true. I know a lot of things about him. I formed opinions of the things that I know about him, but yeah, I don't know him personally. There was a time when David Gingras was just like a kid, man. He was like 3 or 4 years old. He was watching like Garfield and Saturday morning cartoons, and he just wanted to go outside and play some frisbee in the 112-degree weather of Arizona. I don't know where he used to live as a kid. But look, there was a time and place where he was a good person. There's been landmark events in his life that has changed his personality. There was a Reddit post that I recall him stating something to the effect of, I just don't understand like what's in it for me for being the good guy. I feel like if I'm the good guy, I get trampled on. If you want to get ahead in this world, you kind of have to be a dick. And it's formed the context of his personality for years now. And so I don't know. I'll never be the one to judge anybody about whether or not they're a good or a bad person. I can only judge their conduct. His conduct in this case has been pretty bad. I've told him that before. He's admitted that to me before. I'd tell him again. I don't hate David Gingras. I laugh at him. I laugh at him because of how spectacularly he failed in this appeal after speaking so confidently leading up to this final decision. But I'm not anybody to pity anybody. I'm not anybody to judge right or wrong, good or bad. And so to that degree, I'll let others do that. It's not my place to do that. Like I said, if I saw him at a bar somewhere, I'd probably buy him a drink. And then he might take that as like my invitation to like more amorous affections. And I'd have to, look, sir, I don't swing that way. You're just going to have to take my word for that one, but I'd not consent to your advances. And now that would lead into another part of the story, wouldn't it? David Gingras is not gay, as far as I know. I was making a, I'm not a stand-up comic, but I was making a joke. That was image 5. Okay, so I got a few more of these. And thank you, Schnitzel, for compiling these for me. Let's go to 6. 6 was, I can't even read that. How does one read that? How do I make this bigger? Swedish scientist tweeted at him, "This is pure projection. Every accusation you make of Omar and or the JFC movement is a confession." And then Gingras says, "How so? Look at those emails and tell me which part you find offensive." That's all my emails with the guy, excluding only the ones from yesterday, which Omar read online. Yeah, all of our emails that we've ever sent to each other are online. If you think I was unprofessional to him, well, we already know how fair and neutral you are. It was unprofessional because he didn't treat me as a colleague. He treated me as if I was a dumbass. So, like, I asked him point blank about the 10 years of built up evidence that was documented online, like the Justice for Clayton timeline, or for some Reddit. I forget if it was Reddit or both, or there's like 2 very public amalgamations of evidence accumulated over the course of 10 years that told the story about how Laura Owens had victimized men. And I just point blank asked him, how are you going to deal with this evidence? Is any of it true? Is any of it untrue? Is this something that you have to like plan for, scheme for? And he's like, I don't pay attention to any of this shit. None of it exists to me. I know nothing of it. I don't read any of that crap. To which I deciphered, this guy is not treating me with respect. He's not treating me as a colleague. He's not a serious person. And I will never again ask him a serious question about this case because I'm not one for wasting my time. I don't care to have my time wasted. My instinct about the guy was that he was full of shit. And after the course of about a year, I've been proven profoundly correct. He's just a shit talker. What more could you say about it? He's a shit talker? Nothing more. My mom taught me how to handle a bully a long time ago. You know, bullies are loud and they're vociferous and they talk a lot and they're brash and they make big spectacles of themselves. And all you got to do is walk up to them, walk straight up to them and punch them dead in the face. Punch them right in the button, man. Hit them right in the throat. And when they fall down and start crying to their mama, they'll know what they're really made of. That's how you handle bullies. This is the same way you handle bullies who purport to be lawyers. He is a lawyer, but he's a bully. He's lived his life thinking that that's the way to navigate humanity. There's consequences to that. And I'm not one to suffer fools. And so when he addressed me that way, I was kind of done with it. I had made up my mind about him from our very first email interaction way back last year of like April or something like that. I forget what it was. Someone kissed my ass with all of that. I said what I said and I meant it. And I'll say it again. And I have said it again. All right. I think I got a couple more. 7. What is 7 about? 7 is ask Reality Steve if I was disrespectful in my convos with him. He is strongly pro-Clayton, but I'm sure Steve will tell you our discussions were all polite and respectful. The same was true of Omar until he chose to lie about me. I haven't lied a damn thing about him. All of our emails, all of our interactions that are well documented in line. The only reason I'm dead to him and why he thinks this of me is because I've disagreed with his legal conclusions, but I proved his legal conclusions wrong with the law. And when he found out that I'm not going to be one to push around where you're just going to convince me that I'm wrong because I've backed it up with fact, with logic, with case law, and with statute. So what are you selling me here? And when he found out that he can't just like get one over on me, then it's like, you know what? I'm dead to him then. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. But he was nice to me on the phone. And I'm sure he was nice to Reality Steve, but he wasn't bullying around Reality Steve either. When it came to, look, Reality Steve had an agenda. He wanted Gingras to answer to some of the deeper allegations of his client, Laura Owens. And then ultimately he decided not to do it. So yeah, it was nice over the phone, but we weren't suffering your bullshit. Like there's no, when it came down to, you want to continue to posit your bullshit legal theories to me when I know better. into reality Steve, who knew the facts way better than you do, apparently. Look, you could be as nice as you want. We're not just gonna run with that and just let you get away with it. That's how it is. That's how it is, sir. If you navigate through humanity in such a way, then people will be cordial to you if you're cordial to them. They'll smile at you if you smile at them. But if you think that you're going to get one over on them when they know better than that, you're sorely mistaken. You can do that to some folks. You can't do it to others. You can't do it to reality Steve. And there was never a time where you were ever going to do that to me. Ever, ever, ever. And that's where it is. I think that was 7. What is 8? What is 8 about? 8 is, the same thing. You have made fun of people with special needs, called people cockroaches. This is from Swedish scientists, and that you would take joy reading their obituaries, talked about people's genitals, manhood, woodnick, sounding like a phallic tree. That was kind of funny. Repeatedly denigrated Judge Mata. Look at me, Daddy. You are unprofessional. And then just out of nowhere, he says, was any of that in my emails to Omar? We're talking about those emails. Try to focus here. No, those were not in the emails because it would have been, that would have been way before the Mata thing. Those emails contained no direct evidence that you were a dick. But I picked up on the scent in those emails, and you proved me right for like a year. So fuck off with all of that. How about that? How many more do I got? How many more of these do I have? I think that was 7. Is this 8? Guess we're going to find out. Oh, that was 8. So I only got one more. Oh, what a shame. Well, here's the last one I have. What do you mean I can only share 10 images at once? Well, how do I get some of these off of my screen? Remove. All right. Man, sometimes I really wish that I still had a Dominic. All right, here we go. All right, so this was the last one. And what is he saying here? This is from Rogue Mama. I'm confused as to how you were gaslit. I'm not very good at spotting gaslighting. It might help us understand better with examples. No one can be 100% unbiased because we are human. My perception of this is you are upset because he didn't side with you on this case. I 100% believe that because if I did side with him, he would have treated me like he would have tried to take me out to dinner. He would have tried to bring me into the inner circle. We would have been best of friends. He would have tried to make me his best friend if I took his side. But this is what he says in response to that. I think we have a terminology conflict. I never said I was gaslit by Omar. I was not. My point was I felt he was trying to gaslight people watching his show. I meant he was not honest, or at least intentionally misleading. I think that's fair, but it's my opinion. I think if he thinks that I was gaslighting the public, that my thought of David Gingras was that he was generally full of shit, not to be trusted, that he was a bully, that he was, that he was not professional, that he was not prepared, that he didn't know the law. I think that I've been proven correct over time.
Does he look like a bitch?
Yes. That's all. That is all I got to say about that. And to that degree, I love you all. Lauren told me that she's going to start her stream at 6:30. It's now 7:09. I don't think that she was waiting up for me, but if she was waiting up for me, I'd be honored. But I'm about to go jump into her stream, assuming that she is streaming right now, and I will be joined with friends and everything else. So I love you all, and I hope you enjoyed this stream. One final slam dunk against David the Gingerbread Man, and we will see you all over on Lauren's stream. Bye-bye.